Hey folks, it's Penny. Welcome everyone to the Audience Growth Digital Cafe training. We are recording this, so we'll send out a recording later, which is awesome. We're going to give you a ton of amazing tools today. A reminder, we have everyone on the line muted, so be sure to ask your questions in the chat. You should be seeing the Audience Growth Digital Cafe main slide. And we're going to go through a bunch of tools. So most of you should know me. My name is Penny Reardon. I'm the Director of Digital Audience Engagement, and we have two other folks in the room.
Hi, I'm Summer Moore. I'm the Digital Project Manager on Jean's team.
And me.
And we also have Sherry Horton, who's our data scientist.
Okay, here's the agenda. Great, thanks for confirming audio. Oh, I cut out a bit. Okay, all right. So the agenda today, we're going to review the new monthly reports and how to find your data. We're going to talk about a new morning report template, which is pretty amazing. This is something you're going to be able to pull all your data into one place to review in meetings. We're going to do some tips and trick reviews for workflow, and then we have an amazing audience tool, Choose Your Path, Audience Growth Interactive, that's pretty awesome that Sherry's going to go over. Okay, first, some of you should have seen the new monthly report. We send it out. Sherry actually sends it out, so if you're looking for the email, you want to search for Sherry Horton. We have a link right here in the slides, and we'll send that afterwards so you can review. But this new monthly report went to all editors and publishers. We sent it out last week, I believe, Monday. And what are some of the things that are new about it? So it's simplified. It's a Google site. All the tabs across the top you can click on. So see the screenshot on the slide where it says all site metrics, app metrics, articles, galleries. You can look in there and see your top article, the top articles across Gatehouse, top galleries, get more data on the app, which is huge. You'll want to make sure you scroll down on the home page as well because we have some data visualizations there showing channel trends. So focusing on audience growth really means looking at your different channel acquisitions. So that's Facebook or social, search, email, direct, et cetera, and seeing how you're doing compared to trend lines for last year. So the next piece of this monthly report, which is something that I know a lot of you folks asked for, which is a site-by-site view of how you're doing year over year. So the second tab, All Site Metrics, has each site, your page views for this year, last year, sessions, and users. We color-coded it to do green for growth, red for decline, and yellow for essentially flat. So you can pull this report out even to a separate spreadsheet that you can search and view. Click on it, search within it, and see how you're comparing to your numbers last year and then also to your peers in the company. And for those of you who are in a regional structure, you can look up multiple sites as well. So this report was really created with you in mind. And we want you to be able to focus on a few key metrics. The old report was about 30 pages, so this is really streamlined and simplified. So next, Sherry's going to walk you through the new morning report template.
So if you were in Jean and Tim's training last week, you probably got a sneak peek of this. I've seen a few of you guys in there, which is great. But for those of you that missed that training, I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth of what this report kind of provides. So here on this slide, there's the link to the report and also a how-to to add your data source. It was built in Data Studio, so it's a lot like the individual site report. If you've been around for a year, you know what I'm talking about. And you plug in your data source, which would be just your Google Analytics account, into Data Studio, and all of these fields in the report will populate. It is meant to be used in the morning, so I encourage you to use it every morning. And in your morning meetings, it basically outlines what your previous day's traffic looked like, and you can check it out to see what worked and what didn't and why. When you do click into the report, on the first page, you'll notice there's a daily page view target, and it's set at 10% of your daily average for last year. Although you have internal goals, this target is something to strive for each day, and it's something we as a company are striving for. So don't get too worried about the 10%, but it is something that we should reach for regardless. The morning report also has user loyalty segments and trends to see different audience types and who you are reaching. So casual readers are first-time visitors. If they do return, they turn into loyal readers. And finally, once they have visited more than 15 times, they become a brand lover. Brand lovers are a much smaller segment of our audience, but truly consume the most content and spend the most time on site. The next step in the audience funnel would be subscribers, and eventually we'll have a new bucket for their traffic breakdowns too, but right now we've kept it to these three. So what we're looking to do with this information is to convert casual readers into brand lovers. So the next page of that report shows those trend lines to see if you are achieving that target. So you'll be able to see that when you go in. There's also marketing channel data, geographic data, and article breakdowns, including author reports. And something of note, which I know with the individual report, I got a lot of, can I do this with multiple sites? Can I put in different, if you manage different, like 3 different papers? Unfortunately, it's just one site per report, but you can make as many of these reports as you want. Just remember to rename them so you know whose data you're looking at. And then also, I talked about the 10% goal that's present in that report. The daily growth tracker, which you guys all should have the link to, but if you don't, it's in this slide. You make a copy of this, you can input your view ID, and then you set your dates, and you can see how you're doing daily for the month. You can also implement your internal page view target there. So once you make that copy, there's a spot at the bottom where you can put in your percentage growth goal. Right now it's defaulted to 2%, but you just go in there and tinker with the formula. It's in that slide on the picture. You can see where you would change it. You just put in your percentage, and then you'll be able to see how you're tracking for your internal goals.
Thanks, Sherry, and good question, Beth. If you didn't receive this, if you aren't a top editor or a publisher, we'll send it out with this training, so you'll be able to get it as soon as we send this out.
Yeah, to clarify, the morning report's brand new, so none of you have seen the morning report. Okay. The monthly reports, Beth, if that's Beth Purdue, it could be Beth Hudson or another Beth. So the morning report is brand new. What Sherry was just talking about is completely new. And then the monthly report is a new format. So we have a slide at the end that'll show the names and a list of them again and how to get them.
Okay, so we've been getting a lot of feedback about how all this stuff is really difficult because there's usually one person in the newsroom who's kind of responsible for all this digital stuff. So I did want to talk about some workflow tips today about how you can start getting some culture change in your newsroom. So we're going to talk a little bit about consistent training, constant messaging, the cheat sheets, how you can empower people that embrace something new, and always be transparent. So the first one is consistent training. So this is really vital. The first thing that I recommend to everyone, please use a digital budget. The digital budget is not just an extra thing that you have to do. The digital budget is a way for your entire newsroom to understand, to think about the website first. So the digital budget has time, so people think about their deadlines different. The way that we did it in our newsroom is we had reporters themselves put their own slugs on our digital budget. So they're thinking about when they can have the story done. They're thinking about, what's the best time on the website to get the most eyes on my story. Just having that digital budget that everyone in the newsroom is involved in really can help change the thinking to get away from just thinking about, okay, I have to have my story in by the end of the day so that it makes it into the paper next day. The digital budget can be a way to just get people to start thinking a little bit differently. So I really recommend doing that. And, this link will have a link to an example one. But really there's all kinds of ways you can use, or you can create a digital budget. You can put it on your C&D budget, so you already have this thing that you're using. Just add an extra column. There's all kinds of different ways you can do it, but it's really important to use that and to really have the entire newsroom involved in that process. The next thing is consistent digital meetings. So making sure that you're meeting with the entire newsroom to talk about numbers, talk about why you're up, talk about why you're down, talk about what's working, talk about what's not working. Having these meetings, and you know, as often as you can, once a week, twice a month, but getting everybody in the room, and it's really important that your top editor is in that room as well, making sure that the message is consistent there, that we all understand that digital is really important. So having those meetings with everybody in the room and making, you know, they can be short. My meetings were 15 minutes. We went over our report for the week. We went over what, you know, did well, what our plan is for the next week, numbers we need to hit, and then send everybody back to doing what they're doing. Again, it's just getting people thinking about digital more often and also understanding that by getting everybody together and talking about digital, it keeps it more top of mind. The other thing is consistent digital reports. So everybody will have this amazing morning report that Sherry just made for you, which will be a great thing to share with the entire newsroom, making sure that everybody's on the same page about where you are and where you want to be, but then also asking for feedback. So understanding what people don't understand, why they don't understand it, making sure that you're having meetings with individuals that don't seem to be quite getting it and trying to understand why there might be some sort of a block there, so that maybe if it's a training issue, if they just don't understand how to put related stories on their own stories, then you can have that one-on-one time and get them over that hump. That can be, you know, it can be something that's pretty simple. The other thing is constant messaging. So reminding your people why digital growth is important. Understanding that numbers are more than numbers, right? Numbers represent people. They understand readers, but they also represent, you know, money, like bringing in revenue for the company. So, you know, this is vital. This is how we're growing. This is the place that we're growing. So we really need everybody involved. Leading by example is really important, so making sure anything that you put out is really, really well done. And then giving positive feedback. So anytime that you've got somebody in your newsroom that did something for the first time, making sure that you're recognizing that and giving them a little shout-out, and then always celebrating the win. So if you've got some really great piece that you put out that did really well and it had all kinds of good pieces, you know, celebrating that, bringing people together. You know, I understand that we can't buy people, you know, a bunch of food or anything anymore, but it doesn't mean that we can't send out notes, that we can't get people together and, you know, really talk about why this worked and how we can do it again. The other thing that helps a lot is to keep cheat sheets. So if there's something, you're asking people to do a lot, especially with each one of their stories, so make sure that you're writing it out. The story optimization checklist that you will have with this training is a great little cheat sheet for reporters to stick right next to their computer so that they understand that they are responsible for making their stories as beautiful as possible, as most, you know, as digitally awesome as possible before handing them to their editors. So every little piece of this is their responsibility, and then their editor can take the time to edit the story and make sure that it's as pretty as possible. But really, it shouldn't be one person in the newsroom who's adding related stories, who's adding video, who's adding audio. It needs to be everybody. And the thing about having the reporter, him or herself, do this is they know their work the best, right? They know what pieces, you know, what related stories should be on their own story. They know what they've reported before. They know, you know, that they're one podcast 3 months ago talked about the thing that they're doing. So really having the reporter on the ground, adding all these digital elements is really important. So having that checklist so that they can go through it makes it a lot easier for them. The breaking news card, and both of these were developed by the Austin Statesman, giving them a shout out because they definitely did this. But the breaking news card is another thing that can help a lot. The Austin Statesman actually puts it inside everybody's badge. So there's no question. If you're going out to cover breaking news in Austin, these are the steps that you need to do. You need to tweet from your own account. You need to take video. You need to send in, 3 or 4, or actually I think it's 1 or 2 sentences so that you can get something online, and making sure that you've got all these pieces so that when whoever's back at the office making sure that these things are going out online as beautiful as possible, you've got all the pieces coming in from that reporter that's in the field. But having that really easy, reference piece for the reporters is really important. And then the more training resources linked there will have all kinds of stuff that you guys can use for this as well. It's also really important to empower people that are embracing something new. So if you've got one person in your newsroom that's especially savvy at galleries, that's especially savvy at story presentation, that's especially savvy at podcast or video, making sure that you're giving that person as much space and room to do that thing as possible. Let them go as far as they can. That's really important so that you can get kind of more champions in your newsroom for digital, because the more champions that you have, the easier it's going to be to shift the whole culture, right? So if you've got one person that just loves podcasts or loves doing stand-up, make sure that you're giving them a lot of space and room to do that, and make sure that you're giving them a lot of feedback around what's working, what's not working, why you appreciate it, giving them the numbers around it. They're seeing their own growth. That's really, really important. And then the last thing is to just be transparent. No one has all the answers. We all know that digital changes every day. Tools change every day. Everything changes every day. So be as transparent as you can, making sure that you're having those consistent meetings and you're allowing people to ask questions, because things change day to day is really important. So being as honest as possible as you can with every single meeting is really, really important. If anybody has any questions like that about any of this stuff, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will hand it back to Sherry for one more really cool tool.
So this is the Choose Your Path Audience Interactive. If you've ever played those Choose Your Adventure games, this is based off of that. So where the morning report is clearly meant to be used in the morning, this interactive is meant to be used kind of midway through the day or once you start to push content out and you can see the results of what you've pushed. So the first step would be to check your numbers and see how your content is doing. You can use the morning report we talked about, the daily growth tracker. You can use GA, Parsley, anything that you have, any of the tools that we've built. They'll give you those numbers. And then you'll want to follow your path to either course correct down days or push your good days over the top. The interactive focuses on search, social, and referral marketing channels mostly. These channels can be influenced more easily by making simple story changes or utilizing the correct marketing tactics for a story. So as you follow the different paths, you will see all the steps that you've taken to the left. So you start, and then you check your numbers. You choose one of the prompts, then you move through, and as you move through, you'll be able to see the whole path that you've taken in case you need to go back and change an answer and see what the other possibilities are for the story. Summer's gone through and added some really great visuals and examples of all the different paths and the different tactics that we discussed throughout it. So it's kind of just fun to click through and learn, even if you're not using it to push a story. It's pretty fun. So lastly, the interactive is continually evolving, and it's something that we're going to be continually editing and growing. So as you guys are using new tactics or have new creative ways to grow your audience, just let me and Summer know, and we'll throw those examples in there, and we'll build it out even further.
Yeah, and another thing I will add about this is make sure that you go through all the different paths. So even if, the first prompt is my traffic is up or my traffic is down, even if your traffic is down one day but you've gone through the prompt all the way till the end, click on my traffic is up and, look at the different examples and things that we have examples for you. It's a really cool tool. I'm really excited about this. This was put together by the DSpace team and Sherry, and I think that this is something that we can look forward to as a really good training tool for the company, but we really need your feedback. So make sure you let us know what you think, and definitely if you have good ideas, let us know so we can add those.
Okay, so we basically went over 5 tools today. The first one is the monthly report. We've been sending that out for a year, but it's a new format. So that's what's new. Second thing, morning report. This is what you're copying and creating from the instructions that we'll send out afterwards. This is where you track how you're doing across all channels, across all types of users. Use this in your morning meetings. If you've got those individual goals that you set for Inner Circle that may be a little bit different than that 10% trend line, you want to use the daily growth tracker. Plug those numbers in so you can see each day how you are percent to goal. Fourth thing, the Choose Your Path Audience Interactive. You can use this throughout the day. And this is for every piece of content. You could give this to reporters to use, so they could see how are all of my stories doing. Do I need to change a headline? Is it in the email? Can I push it out on social? Do I need to change the tone on social? Do I need to tag something? All sorts of different things to help you optimize your traffic and your content. And then fifth, the audience growth training documents that Summer went over, things like the cheat sheets, anything that you can give that are handouts to your reporters when they're out in the field. So we're giving you a lot of tools today, and these are the big five. Okay, so we are at the end of the time. I'll pause for a second in case there are any more questions. Just feel free to drop them in the chat. And if not, what you will get after this training is you're going to get a link to the video and the recording. So this is definitely a training you might want to review with your individual staff later in the newsrooms. Do this for your brown bags training luncheon or your monthly training session. You will get a link to the slides that will have all of the docs there. So again, the morning report is brand new. The interactive is brand new. We'll send you links to all that. And just a reminder for the upcoming training sessions, our July theme is Do Journalism with Impact. And so we have 2 sessions. The first one will be, July 19th is when the first one is. So you should be able to register for that, and we'll talk through the essentials for reporters and editors on how to do journalism with impact, how to do that investigative reporting, that big picture stuff. And with that, we'll wrap it up. So thanks, everyone, for taking time, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.